Karl Wallace, welcome to Scoreboard.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah, Maurice Foster here along with Stratton Palmer.
Karl, tell us, where do you work out of?
Our office is actually at Holborn Road in New Kingston.
In Jamaica here, okay.
Yes, but I am based in Port St. Lucie in Florida.
In Florida. Mm-hmm. The connection with Vietnam, the Middle East, tell us about that whole arrangement. Is it the first stop for you or you were entrenched elsewhere?
We have been speaking with associates in various countries. It just so happens that these gentlemen that you mentioned got offers from out of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. The offers came directly to them and then you were the go-between, or did you find those offers?
We found the offers.
Okay. Tell us about how you made that contact with Vietnam.
Well, we have a marketing strategy whereby we go through the various football clubs and players' agents. And that's how we came in contact with this club.
Were you certified in Jamaica or from in the States?
We were certified in Jamaica. Let me tell you a little bit about how this went.
Yes.
5 friends got together. We are football fanatics. And one gentleman, Baron Marshall, sat the players agent exam in the JFF offices, under the auspices of the JFF, and became qualified. Formed a partnership, and we moved from there.
Karl, tell us a little bit about Vietnam and the Jamaican connection. Why Jamaicans football in Vietnam, and how big is football in Vietnam?
It is extremely popular. It's the most popular sport in the world, and it's no different in Vietnam. The Jamaican connection simply came about because of TSA's work. We tried to form alliances with associates in various countries, and we formed one with this club in Vietnam.
Karl, have you been to Vietnam?
I have not been to Vietnam myself. Currently, Baron Marshall is in Vietnam, and he will be meeting Hodges at the Ho Chi Minh airport.
Right.
Later.
You have a background on the clubs that they'll be, in fact, playing for in Vietnam?
This particular club just won the Knockout Cup and is now going into the Asian Confederation Knockout Cup.
Mm-hmm. How were the players selected? We have 3 players who are there so far. Kevin Brand was the first, and Andre Fagan, quickly followed by Devon Hodges. Were these selected by yourselves, or did the club have an interest in them otherwise?
Now, they were selected by us. Hodges is actually not our player. He is not contracted directly to us. We have a subcontract from his agent who is US-based. The other 2 gentlemen were our players.
What criteria came into deciding which players that you would have contracted?
I can just tell you a little bit. I won't be able to give you all the details. But we look for players with good technical ability. We look for players who are usually looking for fast players, and we're looking for team-oriented play.
Did that mean that you would have had to have discussion with the clubs, coaches, etc., to come to that decision?
We do not leave the clubs out of the conversation. But first, we speak with the players because we are representing the players. So it's the players first, and then we approach the club.
What about the standard of football there? Any reports?
The standard there, it is our considered opinion that it is somewhat on the same level with our standard in Jamaica.
Okay. You're talking about at the National Premier League level?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We're talking about their Premier League with our National Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
I perhaps should clarify a little bit in that it is in terms of technical ability of players, individual players, not necessarily tactical awareness of the game. Mm-hmm. I think they're a little bit above us in terms of that. Although FIFA rankings right now compared to theirs would suggest that we are far above them because we are 59 and they are somewhere in the 120s.
But you mentioned about players, Jamaicans going there. Are there other overseas players, other players from the Caribbean or maybe even from Europe or South America, wherever, playing in Vietnam as well?
Yes, you have many Brazilians and you have many players out of Africa and you have players out of Europe. The clubs are constantly seeking to upgrade their standards and they're constantly having players coming.
But you mentioned earlier that you would have to, you selected the players speaking to them first and then the club. But then after all that is done, there has to be a meeting of minds in terms of the positions of these players. Is it something that is out there that is formatted, that we need forwards, we need linkmen, etc., and then you look for them? Or does the meeting of the minds come together as to which player you have selected and that they want?
It goes two ways. In our search for players, we look for quote-unquote best players. When we make the contact with the associates, then they tell us exactly what they are looking for. And we look among our current clients to see if we can satisfy that need. And if not, we take another look to see if there are players out there who could satisfy that need. Sometimes we can't.
These players are on loan. What is the contractual arrangement and how long are the contracts for these players?
The players themselves, their contract runs until the 31st of August. It's just for a season. They will be assessed as they go through the season, and if they're found to be of the sufficient quality, then of course we'll negotiate for extended contracts. As far as the clubs are concerned, because these players are on loan and they belong to the respective clubs.
So do the clubs benefit from a transfer fee then?
They do.
Okay.
What is the routing, Karl, in terms of when a player is selected? Do they go on trial? Who bears the cost? What is your take if they are unsuccessful?
TSA at times bears the cost. We negotiate with the clubs sometimes to share the costs. Sometimes the clubs or the associates we're dealing with will underwrite the entire cost. It's something we negotiate.
Right.
If the players are unsuccessful, the investment has just gone down the drain.
Wow. They know that the clubs would help you along the way, as a matter of course. But do you, if therefore,
were you speaking of the Jamaican clubs?
No, man. No, the clubs in
both.
Vietnam.
Okay. Or anywhere else in the world for that matter.
Yes. Do you impress upon, say, the first person, say, a Kevin Bryant, how important it is for him to open the doors for others and for yourselves and your company?
We actually say that to each and every client. Impress on them that they're opening the door for other of their fellow players and for those generations that shall come after.
Do you therefore consider this move to Vietnam as a door opener for the Middle East, Far East, and other places? And what about England in all of this?
Definitely it is opening the door, because once they go into the Confederation competitions, they are in a wider marketplace to be seen. We have associates in Europe and in England, and we have had calls. For example, we had an interest expressed in Shelton, Luton Shelton, who is not in Jamaica, who is in a professional situation elsewhere.
Yes.
And we spoke with the various persons, but the demands that were being made, the club could not meet it.
Karl, is it difficult for TSA to get involved with England? For the longest while, there was only like one agent who did all the work. Was there a shutout? Is there a shutout, or is the area now free for TSA to get involved in all markets?
It is open in all markets. It all depends on how you make your representations and the networking that you do. We think we are on the right track, and we have associates in England.
How did you prepare, your company prepare for all this? Because a new era, is it something that you feel comfortable that you have all the necessary mental resources in terms of understanding what it takes to work through contract, or is it a learning situation as you go along?
It's a bit of both. I have been in marketing and sales for a very, very long time, from 1971 actually.
Yeah.
And I have a background here in the United States in real estate for more than 10 years. And part of the real estate principle of the multiple listing system we use, there are some agents out there who will sign, say, a local player, and only the persons that agent knows will the player be marketed to. We move away from that and move to the multiple listing situation, whereby we extend ourselves to a wide network and we market a player through the network. Therefore, if I know 100 persons who could help the player, then each of those 100 may know another 10, 20, or 30, and we expand the reach into the marketplace by that method. We work with any agent.
Mm-hmm. What about the MLS? Is it the same situation? See that the MLS largely control it is all drafting and selection and movements of players.
The MLS it's the same system of networking, excepting that in terms of who owns the player and how the negotiations is carried out in the MLS. It's different from anywhere else in the world that we have been.
Mm-hmm.
When does the season start there, Karl? How long is the season?
The season in Vietnam it runs about 10 months, and it starts. The first match for the gentlemen is the 21st.
21st
of this month.
This month, right? And it runs until when?
It runs for 10 months.
Mm-hmm. So these players contracted. This contract would be for one season.
It is for one season, but it runs. But their contract is only for the domestic season, which ends at the 31st of August.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, we are projecting that they'll be playing, or at least offers will come back for them to extend to go on into the wider Asian Confederation.
Okay.
Karl, I'm tempted to ask, since we started this interview, and you said a group of 5 started this thing. Would that group of 5 have been people who were from what? Was it Gate 7 during the World Cup campaign?
We all had an interest in football from long before that.
Yes.
Myself, for example, I was a FIFA referee down there in Jamaica.
Okay, I know the name sounded quite familiar, yes.
But we actually started by getting fans of the Reggae Boys together on a website, reggaeboyssc.com. And that boys is spelled with a Z.
Right.
And so we knew each other long before. We were going to matches and all that sort of thing. And this was just another step.
How easy was it for the clubs in Jamaica to release them?
I think the clubs will speak to that. I will just say something. We have had offers for other players, and we have been told in at least one occasion that the club is looking elsewhere. Unfortunately, the player is still looking.
Still looking.
Yeah, because it's going to be difficult for you to get players out of Europe because they have their own agents there.
Oh no, we get players from all over. We have a player from Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
We have a player from Canada who will be on the way to Serbia in a few hours. I'm in discussion right now with a goalkeeper out of Europe. We get a lot of people asking us to take them, and then we look at the DVDs and we look at the clips and we speak with them. And most often so far, we have been saying no.
Yeah, final question, out in 30 seconds. I speak of a particular player, Jermaine Taylor. Excellent defender, the best I think we have in the country. Why is it so difficult to get a player like that a contract?
Well, we have spoken to Mr. Taylor already. And at that time, nothing worked out.